Glenn and Allie are two regular students at High School North. Allie's a healthy student and able to function normally. Unfortunately, Glenn is not. Recently, he's been diagnosed with noenergitius. This affects the muscle contractions in his arm where ATP cannot be hydrolyzed. Needless to say, his arms are useless. Let's take a closer look at what's going on inside our muscle cells. Within the muscle cell, there are two filaments that allow for contraction. These filaments are called myofilaments. The first type of filament is the thin filament. This is made up of a number of proteins. The body of the filament, actin, is surrounded by two regulatory proteins called tropomyosin and troponin. These two regulatory proteins are held in place over the active site. The active site is where myosin binds to actin to form what is called a cross bridge. Thin filament's partner in crime is the thick filament, which is composed mainly of another protein, myosin. Myosin heads line the thick filament and extend outwardly from each end. These two filaments work together to allow for muscular contractions in the body.
In a normal body, muscles contract with the help of ATP. This molecule is necessary anytime energy is needed. ATP, or adenine triphosphate, is made up of adenine that is bonded to 3 phosphates. This is where we get the tri in triphosphate. In a regular muscle cell, after the active site is revealed, the myosin head needs to bond with the actin at the active site to create a cross bridge. Active sites are revealed when calcium is present. The calcium ions bind to the troponin, causing the regulatory proteins to move. Now that the active site is open, myosin wants to bind with it. In order to do so, ATP needs to hydrolyze. Hydrolyzation is when one of the 3 phosphates breaks off, leaving ATP and a single free phosphate. When they split apart, they release energy. Anytime the body needs to do something, we need energy. This applies to muscular contractions. Myosin now has everything it needs to grab onto the active site on actin. It is important to know myosin always remains stationary. The ADP and PI molecules break off the myosin head, causing the myosin head to pull the thin filament past itself. At this point, another ATP binds to the myosin head, retracting it back to its starting position. The cycle will now repeat itself as another ATP binds to the myosin head, proceeding to hydrolyze back into ADP and PI.
Now, let's take a look at what's wrong with Glenn's body and how noenergitius affects him. Noenergitius is when ATP cannot hydrolyze. We know that hydrolyzation occurs twice, once to grab on and pull, and the second to release and return to its ready position. Since ATP can't hydrolyze, Glenn's myosin heads cannot grab on or pull. ADP and PI will never break off, and energy will not be released. Myosin can't perform its function, and the muscles cannot contract. This is why Glenn cannot move his arms.
Eventually.
Here, Glenn, let me help you.
Friendship!